Hey, folks. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. We're at the top of the hour. We're going to run a tight ship here and go to the end of the hour. Won't go over, but we've got lots to do, lots to talk about. And you can see I've got a lot of people to introduce you to. So might as well get right to that. My name is Artie Lane. You might see Arthur on there, but there's a long story of why it's Artie. Everybody calls me that. I'm the IDP's resident peer-to-peer expert. I've been with the team for a couple of years now, working from my home office in beautiful Brockville, Ontario. And if you don't know where that is, what I always say to people is you've probably stopped here for gas. If you've had to drive anywhere on the 401 at all, you know Brockville because you stopped here at the Petro can or something like that along the way. So that's who I am, but I'm not the important person here. You can see Brady Bunch style. I'm surrounded by a bunch of awesome people. I'm going to introduce them in a second. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how they all came to be here. First, uh, when our team at IDP decided that they wanted to do a webinar around what we've been hearing with the upcoming Emerging Futures 8 survey and how the importance of peer interactions and peer engagement had come to the forefront, they came to me and they said, look, do you know anybody who's kind of doing good things with peer-to-peer here in Canada? Do you know anybody who's getting a lot of success and traction out of it? And I said, do I? My goodness. I mean, there's an embarrassment of riches here with teams that are doing great things. And suddenly it was like, okay, well, go find those people and invite them to be in a webinar. And I thought, well, it's a busy time of year. People are doing stuff right now and they're traveling and all that stuff. It's a lot to ask, but let's do it anyway. I bet you I can find some folks. So first, I thought, okay, well, who's done webinars with me in the past before? And I thought, okay, Linnea at Huron, she has. And again, I'm going to do fuller introductions in a moment here. And Rodrigo has done them with us before as well. So I was like, okay, well, I'll ask them. We'll see if they get back to me. And immediately, yeah, love to be a part of that. That'd be great. It's amazing. And then I thought, well, who else? Okay, well, Brian over at SAIT, he does great things. And he, along with the other pages I've talked about, or the other sites I've talked about, one of the people I talk about all the time. So I reached out to Brian and immediately, same thing. He says, yeah, I 100% want to be a part of that. But I also think there's a student you should talk to as well, one of our former student ambassadors. This is about student voice and peer to peer. So we got to have a student on there. And he said, Lance is the guy you got to talk to. Ask him if he'll be on it. And Lance said, of course, I'd love to be a part of that. So there we go. And then I got thinking, okay, we need more, maybe one more person. So I thought Calvin. Calvin's at the University of Calgary, and he's an interesting example of how well, graduate work is starting to jump into the peer-to-peer universe. In the past, it had been an undergraduate thing more than anything else. But as we see now, more and more graduate teams are getting involved with peer-to-peer. So I reached out to all of these people, and each one to a person said, absolutely want to do this. It's great. So something like it's in the space of a day, I had this full panel, and I could have got 50 people. I think if I gone after 50 people, I could have done it. So, like I said, an embarrassment of riches, some great folks here. So I thought, this is like how Nick Fury must have felt when he was assembling the Avengers, right? So I don't know who the Hulk here on the panel is, but that's exactly how I felt about it. So, I've got the team together. So let me tell you about who this team is. So we have Linnea DaCosta. So she's the director of student recruitment at Huron. Uh, it, Linnea, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Perfect. Thank you, Artie. So hi, everybody.
Yeah,
My name is Linnea DaCosta. I am the Director of Student Recruitment at Huron University, which is the founding institution of Western University, located in London, Ontario, Canada. So we are a small undergraduate university of just over 2,000 students. I'm very proud to represent both our domestic and our international recruitment team. And we've been working with the Ambassador platform for a number of years now, really engaging our current students with those prospective families.
wonderful. Outstanding. Well, then let me carry it on. Rodrigo, would you mind introducing yourself to the team?
Yeah, thanks so much, Artie. Hello, everyone. My name is Rodrigo Garcia Rojas. I'm the head of marketing services for Navitas North America. I have the privilege of working with all of our Canadian partnerships and our EOS as well. My team and I oversee the creation of collateral, digital campaigns, anything that has a logo on it for our different partnerships. We've been partners with IDP and we've been using TAP for a number of years and very excited to share this panel with everyone.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. I mentioned Brian already, so I'll go back to you again.
Hey, thanks, Artie. I'm Brian Scriver, the Manager International Recruitment here at the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, SAIT for short. I have the pleasure of leading teams of international recruiters, agent coordinators, recently took on the portfolio of international marketing and communications as well. So that's kind of all coming up through here. And really excited to share some of our learnings with the Ambassador platform over the last 3 years, but also really excited to hear some of the learnings from some of my colleagues here on the panel too.
Outstanding. Well, you did say that we should have Lance involved in this, so let me turn to you, Lance. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you, Arthur. I am Lance Santiago, also from SAIT. I'm a graduating student at SAIT and a former Global Student Ambassador, also a student leader. I've been the Vice President of SAIT Student Association and advocated for students in Ottawa for the past couple of months. And I've been using the Ambassador platform for like probably 2 years, and I can share that it has been a big help for me and prospective international students.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. And last but not least, Calvin, if you don't mind introducing yourself quickly, and we'll get to the show.
Yes. Thanks, Artie, and good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Calvin, and I work at the Faculty of Graduate Studies as one of the senior specialists for graduate recruitment. We've been using peer-to-peer engagement for the past 4 years, and we just recently signed on with TAP. So very eager to share what we've learned and hear from others as well.
Outstanding. Thank you for that, everybody. So there they are, our Avengers. And we're going to tackle some questions. And I think when we do the roundtable, if it's all right with you folks, we'll just go in the order that you just introduced yourself. So we each will, and then I won't have to bug anybody, but it's your turn to speak. So if we can stay with that. All right, before we let our experts weigh in on these questions, there are a couple people I want to recognize as well. Carolyn McCauley, who's in charge of all events for North America, she's on this team as well, and she helped put this thing together. So I do want to say hi to her. And Jigisha Mehta, who's in charge of all marketing activities for Canada, she was the driving force behind all of this, and she did the herding of the cats that you see on screen here. So that's one thing I wanted to make sure we recognized. And yes, the question will be asked, and it has been already, and I'll repeat it here for everybody. We will record this and we will make it available to anybody that wants to look at it after. So rest assured, if you signed up for this, even if you weren't here today, you're going to get a copy of this link. Okay, so we have some questions that are in roundtable format. We have some that are directed at people specifically. Feel free, to take as long or as little as you like with each of these questions. And then we've got questions from the audience as well. We'll see how many there are by the time we get there. And I've got Jagisha and Carolyn kind of helping corral all those for me as well. So please don't be shy. Ask as many questions as you want, but we are going to keep it to the hour and we'll see how we do. So we're going to start off here with a roundtable question. Let's start with a broad view. How is peer-to-peer engagement, in whatever form that may be, showing up in your institution? And do you think that it's gaining traction and helping you? What's it doing for you? So, Linnea, why don't we start with you? And like I said, we'll go through the same way we went before. So, share your wisdom with us, please.
Amazing. So with peer-to-peer, we're definitely seeing that a lot of our students, especially because we recruit at the undergraduate level, it's been a really great way to really authenticate the experiences when our team is distributing maybe materials, view books, there's videos, everything created on the website to really help guide a student in making the decision that's the right fit for themselves. That peer-to-peer piece is really essential so that students can go and authenticate those experiences with students that are currently living that shared experience. I think having a platform like the Ambassador platform is really crucial because as we've probably all experienced, 17-year-olds, when they're getting researched, they're not going to go to your university website first. Maybe they're going to go to platforms like Reddit or TikTok or Instagram and really try and find what the lived experience is there. So having a safe platform for current students to interact with prospective families, creating that positive community and positive space for students to share their experiences is really crucial. And I think what's really fantastic with peer-to-peer is that it really allows students to further look into the right fit for them. So everyone's going to really have something that is the deciding factor for them of if a place is the right place for them. It could be contingent on maybe research opportunities or classroom experience, or maybe it's athletics. Maybe it's something that many people might think that it's simple as the food, but food is a huge factor of what you're eating every single day at a university. So being able for prospective students to reach out to peers that are maybe 1 year removed from them is really key. And I think the great thing with peer-to-peer is it's not easy for every single student to come for a campus tour and hear directly for a tour guide. So having those students that are further away, or maybe they don't have the time or resources to come to campus before they start at the university, having that space where they can connect with other students is really important in the recruitment process and the research process for students.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Well thought out. All right, Rodrigo, can we carry on with you with the same question?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Linnea absolutely nailed it. But yeah, in the era of unboxing videos of, a day with me, these international students are looking to validate their decision, right? This is a life-changing matter to them, to their families. So it is very important for them to realize that they have someone that looks like them, that might speak the same language of them, to be able to give them, a true account of how are things experienced and lived in the campus where they're about to, ship their life to. So this peer-to-peer interaction is crucial, right? And being able to provide a safe platform, something that we can support families and the students that are coming to our campuses and giving them a chance to see how it really is. I think Linnea mentioned it, but there's obviously a lot of value in sharing all the collateral that all of our institutions create, and amazing graphic design and all the videos that get created and put up on YouTube. But it definitely it hits different, as kids would say these days, when it comes from someone that looks like them, that has had a very similar experience as them, right? So being able to have a platform like TAP and our ambassadors sharing their authentic experience and being able to share, the little things that Linnea mentioned, like where can I find, condiments from back home, where, getting a haircut in a specific place, all those things are add-ons to the experience, right? The academics, we all know very well that they've been taken care of. Students know that. That's what the website is for. But the actual day-to-day experience, where to find things, where to join clubs, that's something that the peer-to-peer platforms are able to offer, and we're very happy that we're able to provide that to their families and the students.
I didn't get how important the food angle was, or the food part was, until I started here. And I think I heard at two different conferences, I think the Pie in Boston and then one of the CBIEs, somebody had gotten up on stage and said, the thing that actually gets interacted the most with whatever uh, you know media we use is food. That's the questions we get asked all the time. Am I going to be able to find something like I have here at home, which I'll miss if I can't have it? So yeah, it can't be understated. It's things that maybe don't seem as important at first blush. When students will tell you differently, right? And you need a way to help them understand it. It's going to be okay. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard some fantastic things already. I think the only couple of things I would add to that is that our students tell the stories the best, like seeing their perspective and creating the content, and responding to the messages of the students that are interacting with them. It's an incredibly authentic experience. You see what the day-to-day lives look like through the videos and the photos that they produce and upload through the platform. I think for myself personally, the further and further I get away from the student and the prospective student, having a program like our ambassador program also keeps me really grounded and engaged with students, not only from the prospective student, but all the way through to, when the student graduates. Like Lance and I are still in conversation periodically, and I don't know that I would have had that from if we didn't have a platform like this. So it's kind of, keeping me really grounded with what the students are needing, and being able to retell those stories from the perspective of the students been incredibly helpful. And I think one of the most surprising things for us when we launched our peer-to-peer program through the ambassador platform, our intention was very much for connecting current students with prospective students from an ambassador to a prospective student. what we noticed was that our current students were engaging on the platform. We all have really complex organizations as much as we try to make them as simple as possible, but students still need assistance navigating. And we're seeing those students engaging on the platform as well.
Well, that resonates well with me. As a parent especially, it's easy for me to think I know what's important to even my own kids, and sometimes they'll tell me, and sometimes they won't. But until you hear that authentic voice coming from them, and until they can bounce that kind of question or voice off of somebody else that is their peer, um, sometimes those things don't connect. So I think, yeah, connecting the dots is important. And that grounding, actually, I'm glad you said that, because I couldn't have phrased it that way. I couldn't have phrased it as well as you. But, we all need that from time to time. And it'd be easy for us to stay in the patterns of what we do year after year after year. But, the best ideas very often come from the very people that we should be asking, but we forget to sometimes. So speaking of, Lance, you live this life. You were a student ambassador. You were heavily involved in peer-to-peer, and I think you've got not only a unique perspective to give us, but probably the most important in many ways. So tell us a little bit about what we've been talking about so far from your point of view.
Yeah, just wanted to share before I arrived in Canada in 2023, the ambassador platform didn't exist yet at SAIT. I think we were the pioneer student ambassadors when it was launched. So you were right when you said that we were searching videos on YouTube or TikTok or different social platforms to see how the lived experience is in Canada. So when it was launched and we were actually using the ambassador platform, it was very meaningful to me because I kind of gave the support I didn't get before it was launched, right? So people ask questions about where to rent or probably what kinds of clothes or winter clothes they should be getting. And it is very helpful for these prospective students to have their questions answered like that. And number two, I think the State International Center has given us a lot of room for creativity, making our videos, share our lived experiences. And I think those two things, giving support to prospective students, the kind of support that we didn't get, and having the room for creativity, learning from that experience means a lot to me as an international student.
Fantastic. A question came in, and I'll get to it later on, but it's about onboarding and how long that took. And so we do have a question from the audience, and I want to make sure that the audience member who posed that um, understands. I see it, and we're going to get to it absolutely. But I want to keep the flow going here for now. So, given that, Calvin, let's
Yeah.
get your perspective, especially vis-a-vis the fact that you're concentrating on graduate students.
Yeah, for sure. So at U Calgary, we've seen like the peer-to-peer engagement become one of the most powerful ways to connect with our prospective graduate students. I think students today, they want more than program details and requirements, right? They want to know what's it like if they're going to be studying at your university. They also want to know if they're going to get funding, if the funding is going to be enough to cover their living expenses. They want to know how did you connect with the supervisor if you're going into this thesis-based program. A lot of international students struggle with this, and they seem that trying to connect with a professor is out of reach because they're not in Canada. But being able to connect with students who have gone through that builds a lot of trust and confidence that they can do it themselves. And I think it's gaining traction now because students really want authenticity, right? So as institutions, we can push rankings and statistics to prospective students, but if one can hear those lived experience from a current graduate student, it builds way more trust than any marketing brochure could ever do. And I think this really lines up with a QS report that stated that half of international students who are looking to study in the US and in Canada value that connection with the international students to help make them make that decision. So for us, it's like creating those authentic connections that help make graduate studies feel accessible and real.
Wonderful. Great stories, all. I much appreciated. Um, in the interest of time, I'm going to move us on to the next roundtable question before we break out into the larger questions that are going to be individually based. Gabriella, I do see you have a question there, and I will get to it. So let me ask you now, and it doesn't have to be about how you're working with my team especially, but just in general, how have you integrated P2P strategies into your recruitment efforts, and what impact have you seen on prospective student engagement or conversion. So this is, again, whatever strategies you've used. They can be anything across the board. But we'll start off with Linnea, as always.
Yeah, definitely. So something that's really unique that we did recently was we actually posed like a first year survey for first year students, asking, ranking from most important to least important, what were the decision factors that you considered when choosing to come to Huron, for example. And we did this with students who had ultimately ended up coming to Huron and enrolling, but we wanted to get a sense of in the materials that we use, maybe we're focusing too much on career internships. Maybe we're talking too much about something, and maybe there's something that we should be highlighting that our students, feel should be highlighted for prospective families. And one thing we found from that first year survey is that Western across the road does an amazing, amazing job talking about student experience and all of the different clubs to get involved in. And because Huron is a smaller institution and Huron students still have access to everything at Western, there was a perception as, smaller campus, maybe smaller opportunities, not as a dynamic, thriving campus was some of the feedback that we received. And so with, the materials that we currently had, we definitely identified that there was a strong focus on academics, there was a strong focus on career readiness, and the missing piece really was the fun of it all. And students are going to university and they're there for academics for sure, and they want to be successful after graduation, but they also know what they want to make friends, they want to have a fun time, they want to build those lifelong memories. And so what we've really been able to do with peer-to-peer is we wanted to share that authentic experience rather than having a photo shoot that was staged of students laughing on the grass outside when it's snowing for 8 months of the year in Canada. We have really been encouraging our students to use the content feature on the Ambassador platform to share day in the life, what's happening on campus. When our recruiters are traveling across the world, that's typically when all those fun things are happening day to campus, and we're not capturing those events. And so we've really been able to use that content that our students are posting in live time. Maybe it's something like, hey, the psychology booth are having, or the psychology club is having an event for students, and it's just photos from that event or maybe a short video clip, but just showing that it's a dynamic and lively campus with many clubs and ways to get involved. And we've really integrated that content that students were posting that may not be approved for, materials like a view book or maybe on the website because it's not polished enough, but sending that in our email communication so students can explore what the real life experience looks like.
My wife and I have four boys between us, and different varying experiences with post-secondary. But the one thing we wanted for all of them was to enjoy their experience. We didn't want them to feel like it was military school. Not that there's anything wrong with military school, but we wanted it to be, as a rich an experience as possible, much like we had when we were younger. Although not exactly like we had as a father, I have to be clear on that. But thank you for that, Linnea. Rodrigo, how about you?
Yeah, so for our campuses in North America and Canada and the US, what we decided to do is to try to feature the student ambassadors as much as possible and try to remove that gatekeeping, element to it. So what we did is on all of our digital campaigns and on our ads themselves, we're trying to feature, talk to a student, talk to an ambassador, and also adding it on our landing pages, that pop card that the ambassador platform has, just trying to funnel students to, from the top of the funnel, from the discovery process, say like, hey, basically don't take it from us. Here's someone that can chat with you, that can validate, all the information that we're giving you, right? The other thing that we did is we have a series of nurture emails at different stages of the student journey. We also try to heavily feature the student ambassadors on those emails, making sure that, whatever piece of content that we sent out, there's a lot of information that we share, rankings, reasons why you should study with us, et cetera, to add a feature that says, there's a student ambassador, there's someone that looks like you, that talks like you, to be able to validate basically everything that we're saying, right? And we are finding that, every time that a campaign goes out, obviously there's already enough traffic as is, but when our campaigns are live in different countries, interactions just double, right? The amount of chats that come to ambassadors increase, and we're able to see, a correlation between the interest and the amount of questions. We're using that data to sort of inform ourselves back on like, okay, what are some of the FAQs that we're getting, from the market, and making sure that we tailor then our campaigns and our landing pages towards those questions.
Outstanding. Yeah, you think about it when you want a recommendation for a restaurant, we as adults, we don't talk to the marketing department of that restaurant. We want to talk to other people who've been there, and it's important to get that authentic voice one way or the other. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Brian, help us with SAIT and how this is working for you.
Yeah, we've really integrated our peer-to-peer platform, the Ambassador platform, in all of our recruitment activities. So, whenever someone engages with someone on the platform, all of that information gets pushed into our CRM, including the transcript of those conversations, so that, when the recruiter then goes to follow up with that prospective student, they can see, what kind of questions was that prospective student asking, what were the answers back? We can reinforce some of those things, pick up maybe where there's some gaps in terms of, what the academic requirements might be. So we've kind of really wrapped our arms around that prospective student in a really meaningful way on the recruitment side of things. And embedded the platform in all of our communications with prospective students as well, so that we might not have got them as a lead through the platform, but now what we're doing is, you've been admitted. We want you to be able to connect with a prospective student, perhaps even in your program or from your country, that can really tell you, what it was that their experience was. What we're about to do now is, launch our communities, which will enable, prospective students to interact with each other. And we're really excited to see what kind of magic that will bring in terms of, a prospective student from the Philippines connecting with another prospective student from the Philippines, and what that might mean for housing or, things like that. So still have some growth to go.
Yeah, always growing, never standing still. I get that. Absolutely. So once again, we go to Lance. Lance, you've seen this from kind of both perspectives, in the sense that you've been involved as an ambassador and you've been part of the efforts on that side of it, but you also were a student and you can speak to what you would have liked or what matters to you. So how about that? What have you got to share with us?
Yeah, from my perspective as a former global student ambassador, I think there's this unspoken friendly competition between me and other ambassadors. There's this leaderboard at the ambassador platform that says who ranks one, two, and three. So what we do is we get as much questions as we can. So how do we do that? First, we utilize our community pages. So for us, we have like a group, a student group, Facebook group that's comprised of 350,000 prospective students from the Philippines wanting to study in Canada. So we post our profiles there, and that's where we get questions from. And number two, we use our social media platforms. So we have our TikTok. I have my TikTok. Whatever content I post on my tab platform or my ambassador platform, I post on TikTok. And in the caption, I say, if you have any questions, please follow through this link. And number three, I think you are right that authenticity matters. The mundane day-to-day things that we do as international students, whether we're getting our new winter clothes or probably riding the bus, are very important details that prospective students see. And we don't have to be very polished in what we do. We just have to be real, and that's what they want to see. So those are the three things that help me in my marketing style, probably as an international student.
Well, I do remember another conference where a former international student had said she had no idea how cold Canada was.
Mhm.
That that from whatever they've seen on TV, I think she thought it was oversold. Okay, yeah, you get a little bit of snow, whatever, but no idea of what she was in for, and she wished she had had an opportunity to talk to somebody about that. So, I mean, tell me, Lance, is it true that this is the kind of thing that's crucial? The stuff that you say might be mundane to us, but it's a serious problem, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. Engagement that I get from social media whenever I post videos on my TikTok are, is it true that it's that cold in Canada? Because they see, there will be like smoke coming out from my mouth and nose. And I answer as much as I can, but I tell them to encourage them that this is one of the experiences that, an international student should experience to learn about life here in
Yeah.
Canada. And I think it's very important for them to realize that if it is survived by an international student, right? Lived by an international student, they can too. So it's an important, fact for them to know.
Yeah, it's important for them to be prepared, but this is a
Mhm.
rich and rewarding experience for them to come
Yes.
study in Canada.
Mhm.
And, some of the things we might gripe about, as, having lived it for so many years like I have, is actually it can be a lot of fun and something, a big learning experience. And, knowing as much as you can about the world is important.
Mhm.
Outstanding. Thank you again. Calvin?
Yeah, so similar to the other panelists here, we've made peer-to-peer engagement a big part of our recruitment strategy. Um, we built this into multiple touch points through our email campaigns, newsletter campaigns. So that call to action to connect with a current graduate ambassador is very key. We have also encouraged our faculties to have their own graduate student ambassadors because at the graduate level, the admission requirements are vary from program to program. The deadlines, the application open dates vary. So right now we have 12 represented faculties with graduate programs. So now prospective students can connect with someone that shares the same academic interests or the personal perspectives as well. And the impact has been huge and significant. So in the past couple of years, and we're talking about graduate recruitment and graduate students here, so the population is a bit smaller than undergrad. In the past couple of years, when we look at the data, about 22,500 prospective students connected with our graduate student ambassadors. And of those, we had close to 300 apply to a graduate program. And of those, 20% of those went on to get admitted. So we're seeing this peer-to-peer engagement really work in moving students from the prospective stage to taking action to applying and ultimately getting admitted and then matriculated into a program.
Fantastic. Well, good experiences all the way across the board, and I appreciate that. Okay, so we move into the part of the program now where we have some directed questions. Like I said, there are a couple questions in chat that are live, and I want to give them precedence because of the people that showed up to be here today. So we'll get to those as well. We had a couple of mail-in questions that came in before, but I'm going to just kind of throw the questions out to the people that they're directed to. But of course, if anybody else wants to weigh in on that or supplement it in any way, feel free to, kind of raise your hand, say, and to add on to that. It's fine with me. We're all here to learn. So, Linnea, you're first, as always. The question for you is, can you share an example of how peer-to-peer has helped student retention or well-being at your institution?
Thank you for the question. Um, and rather than answering this maybe from a recruitment perspective, I want to kind of focus on how it's helped our student ambassador program, kind of as someone who runs the program. So
Absolutely.
I remember pre-pandemic when our student ambassador program was just strictly campus tours, help support students that are coming to campus, which is essential, but I think it's only a part of the puzzle when we're talking about student recruitment. But we also used to see such high turnover rates of recruiting students to come be tour guides. Tours happen, throughout the week, but you're never really paired up with another tour guide. So there's no real sense of community on the tour guide team where maybe if they're involved in another initiative on campus, there's more a feeling of being part of more of a community. So that was always feedback that we received before we were using a peer-to-peer platform on online. A lot of feedback we'd get was, oh, I wish I knew more of the ambassadors. I only get to see the other ambassadors during open houses or very specific events. Maybe if a school group comes and there's multiple of us, I wish we had more events happening. And so it actually was quite a lot of work for our team every single year trying to one, convince people to sign up to be an ambassador again the next year, and then just interviewing so many students to become tour guides for the next year. And what's been really cool about the ambassador platform for our student ambassador team is that when they're posting and uploading photos and content, it's almost like an app on their phone, almost like Instagram, and they can see everyone that's posting. And so it's been really fun because the ambassadors get a little competitive about it and they're saying, oh, Linnea's posting all the time. I have to post more. Or, oh, I should have taken a photo of that and included it. And so it's really created this sense of community on the ambassador team alone where Last year, I think we had only 9 open positions to hire back student ambassadors because we had such a high retention rate and we were looking to fill some spots for students that have graduated. So we were only filling 9 spots and we had over 80 students apply. So now it's come to the point where there is a sense of community on the student ambassador team. And even if we're not constantly having events in person, people are seeing different things because of that content piece. And it's been really nice from that standpoint where we've really kind of created this retention on our own student ambassador team.
Well, that's outstanding. I saw Lance nodding along when you mentioned the competition because he'd mentioned as much before. And Lance, was it really that cutthroat? Did you really feel that you had to catch them all, get to the next level?
100%. One second you're number one, the next second you're number three, so you gotta pull through.
That's no
Mhm.
good. You got to get back on it. Well, much appreciated. Thank you so much for that, Lance. Second question we have is going to be for Calvin. So, Calvin, how are you leveraging student voices in your marketing efforts to build authenticity and trust with your audience?
That's a great question. Before I do that, but I want to ask Lene and Lance, are you giving rewards to your ambassadors who are reaching the #1 ranking, or is this sort of more of like a personal sort of uh, goal that you wanted to be #1?
So we did implement this, and this was feedback that we got from our students. Is we do like a mid-year refresh training just with any updates and things like that. And so we actually give out reward and it's not even like a monetary award. It's like we just make a certificate, and we actually have all the other ambassadors vote for like different funny named awards that we do, and so it's been fun doing that over the years.
Yeah, for us at SAIT, we all get scholarships from being an ambassador. And but there's no like special award of whoever goes to number one or number two, right? It's just a friendly competition from within the ambassador community.
That's great. So, going back to Artie's question about how are we leveraging student voices in our marketing efforts to build authenticity and trust. Um, yeah, so with us, we work very closely with our marketing team to really try to feature our current graduate students and our ambassadors across all our channels. We have them join us in live webinars. We always invite them to speak on the graduate student experience. If we're doing a webinar on finding a supervisor, we invite them to share how they found their supervisor. Funding and scholarships as well. We invite them to talk about their funding and scholarship that they've received and how that's helping them through their studies. We also invite them to in-person events like our Grad Expo, which is our version of our open house. They're there to connect with prospective graduate students and share their lived experiences. When we attend international fairs, we always put out a call out to our graduate student ambassadors from that country, and then we invite them to record a short video explaining their experiences at the University of Calgary. And these posts have been incredibly successful because they give the international students a chance to hear from someone who's going to go through what they're going to go through, right? And and having those videos really lets our prospective students reflect in their own community and their own passions and their own cultural backgrounds. So it shifts the narrative from like this is what the university wants to tell you to this is what your peers are going through right now. And they really value that student voice and trust that a lot more than what we can do through like a view book or a postcard or whatnot.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. All right, we're moving on to Lance. Lance, the question for you
Yeah.
is from your experience, what kind of peer-to-peer support made the biggest difference? Now, again, this is maybe from your perspective as a student ambassador and what you saw was a big factor in support for other students or with your own lived experience. And what do institutions need to know about what students really need from their peers? So here we have you, an expert on both sides of the dial, so to speak. So tell us what we need to know.
I think many institutions for international student programs focus on big programs, right? Extravagant programs. But I think the real thing that students need from institutions are real connections, right? Lived experience from one student varies from, us domestics, probably domestic students and international students. And for international students, what we want is to build a community. And how do we do that? Probably volunteer works, engage ourselves to different organizations, and probably provide us spaces to, do what we've been doing in our countries. And I think it's very important for schools to prioritize building those real connections. And by adapting that ambassador platform, I think they're doing a really good job about that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Um, Rodrigo, we're going to move over to you. And like I said, we have a few questions from the audience. We have a couple of background questions as well, but I think we're doing really well for time. So, like I said before, if anybody wants to jump in and expound on something anybody has said, feel free. Don't constrain yourselves at all. We're all friends here. So, Rodrigo, if you could give one piece of advice, or we'll call it two if you want, to institutions looking to start or scale P2P initiatives, what would that be?
I'll do you one better, Artie. I'm gonna give
Oh,
three because
great.
I try to go back to when we launched the Ambassador platform. We had to launch it across 6 colleges, and the first question that came to me was like, where do we even get the ambassadors, right? And big shout out to my colleagues because they were a huge part of the rollout. But we thought, we already have student leaders. We already have leaders in our own communities. So let's just tap into them. Tap the ambassador platform. See what I did there?
I
But
see.
you have more ambassadors than you think. In all honesty, you have peer educators. You have, well, in our case, we have students that organize our orientation, the community transition program. These are already very engaged students that are eager to be, to volunteer their time to be part of the community, to help other students. These are students that have transferred to our university partners, and they honestly are willing to give back and to help other international students, other families from their countries, from other places in the world. So tapping into your existing student leaders will get you a long way. And obviously, rewarding them with, an honorarium if possible of any sort of incentive, because, at the end of the day, you're using their time and, making sure that their hard work is acknowledged. It is also very helpful in just, making sure that they know what they're getting themselves into. So first, tap into your existing students. Second, I would say, integrate as much as you can. Someone, please forgive me, but someone mentioned, I think it was Brian, integrating with your CRM. You need that sweet data, right? We need to inform ourselves of what is being discussed on those transcripts. Everything that is happening, it's valuable to us. It's insight, directly from your market, right? It's worth its weight in gold. And integrating with your own socials, right? You already have these incredible ambassadors, people like Lance that are very eager to create content. Yes, upload it to the platform, but also integrate it to your socials, right? It's user-generated content, and it can sometimes be a struggle to get that content done. So while you have the ambassadors, make sure that you squeeze, the most benefits that you get out of that content. And last but not least, because I did promise three of them, it's give them guidance and expectations, right? This is all very exciting for everyone, but also, if you just let them be like, all right, you're on your own, just chat away and, make, post here and there when you can. I don't think it will be a fun experience for everyone. And this is also, not just the ability to like, do something for the students, and it's a mentoring opportunity for both sides, right? For us to be able to mentor students a little bit on, behind the scenes on recruitment, what they're trying to do, but also for us to hear from them, their ideas that they have. These group of students tend to be incredibly creative. They will pitch ideas, so it's always good to get that feedback from them. So it's a two-way street. So just to summarize, I would say, tap into your existing leadership groups, integrate as much as you can, and set clear expectations.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. Wonderful advice. I guess I should just kind of ask everybody else here. Probably you're all in the habit of getting the content that's created by your ambassadors out through other channels as well. Maybe that's Instagram, maybe that's TikTok, whatever it is. So it seems like a marketing win as well. I mean, what's helping you is helping the marketing team and vice versa. So I think that's great advice to integrate, to tap into, to share as much as you can. So thank you, much appreciated. Um, Brian, last of the individual questions goes to you. Uh, you are one of our partners and you're using peer-to-peer engagement platform. What lessons have you learned from scaling this initiative? So you've been doing this for a while now, and there have probably been things you've were surprised with along the way, or things that caught you off guard, or things you weren't ready for? But what have you learned along the way?
Well, interestingly, when we were shopping for a platform, I had run a similar program at a previous institution, and we had
Mhm.
some challenges with it, to be quite frank, because you don't fully control what your current students are saying to prospective students. And when we were looking at platforms, the ambassador platform was right up there for us because there are so many safeguards in place, whether it's approving the content that goes out or whether it's monitoring the chats, the ability to monitor the chats, and even having certain things blacklisted in the chats for safety and those kind of things. That's been really helpful for us, when we launched the program. Um, for us, our selection process of our ambassadors is pretty robust. We have prospective ambassadors um, submit a up to 3-minute video so that we can see what kind of engagement they're going to be able to create, what kind of content they're going to be able to create. And generally, we'll know within the first 15 seconds of watching a video if they're going to be a great ambassador for us or not. And we're really blessed with incredible talent. Here at State, we have a great film and video production program. So we have folks that want to be able to create content there, and of course, marketing students that will come through. But even our software development students that you wouldn't necessarily expect that kind of creativity are incredibly talented and are able to create incredible content and application videos. So, putting some investment on the front end in selecting the right ambassadors will really help with what you're able to do with those ambassadors over the year. Um, and beyond that, we do give them expectations. We ask that they produce 2 to 5 pieces of content a week, that they're responding to messages in a timely manner, but we don't tell them exactly what we want them to do, because we want to give them that leeway and empower them to create the content and respond authentically to those prospective students. So those are kind of the 3 or 4 lessons, and I'll reiterate again, fully integrate with your CRM. If you're not doing that, you're losing so much from the platform. Those are the 3 or 4 kind of pieces of information I'd like to pass along.
Wonderful advice. Thank you. And let me ask just real quickly around the table, starting Linnea, how many ambassadors do you normally keep in your roster at any one time?
Yeah, so we have quite a few ambassadors. So we have a team, we aim for 30, which I know is a lot for a small school, but they work hard. So
Wonderful. Rodrigo?
Per college, we have around 5 or 6.
Okay, good. Uh, Brian, did you tell us how many you normally have or not?
I don't think I did, but we have 20. And actually, we're
Okay.
onboarding half of them today and half of them tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic. Congrats. Wonderful. And Calvin, how many have you
Yeah,
got in
so
your
for our
roster?
graduate student ambassadors, we have 14 right now.
Wonderful. So,
Yeah,
different schools, different sizes, different
exactly.
programs, but it's nice to see that, some teams have a lot of students that want to be a part of it, are
For sure.
there's an embarrassment of riches there as well about the number of people who want to jump in and be a member of this team,
Yeah, for sure. And I
right?
wanted to add to what Rodrigo was saying about marketing.
Yeah.
So at the University of Calgary, we got our marketing team and communication team involved early, and we give them the backend access so that when students are creating these photos or video contents and these artifacts, they're able to go in and download some of those content and really amplify the student's story through like the right mix of emails, newsletters, and through different social channels. Um, so if you're looking at launching that sort of ambassador platform, getting your marketing team involved, maybe giving them access to that as well, so they can choose the content that has been really successful for us.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And thank you again for jumping in and adding to that, because it's too easy for me to just kind of move on. It's good when people can add on and share that. So thank you for that. Lance, we did get a question directly for you, or maybe a couple of them now that I'm looking down
Mhm.
here. But I do have some questions from the audience and some that got mailed into us before. I'm going to throw those out now. And in one case, I think we can roundtable it, and we'll do the same thing as we did before. But we're only 10 minutes left to go, so we're going to keep to our schedule, and everybody's going to be ready to go at the right time. So, uh, Calvin, let me start here. How did the ambassador experience, or sorry, Lance, how did the ambassador experience as at SAIT enhance your own student experience in Canada? So, how did being an ambassador enhance your experience in Canada?
Well, honestly, it has opened many doors for me. Coming to Canada, knowing no one. This was my first volunteer experience. So after that experience, I met a lot of people, right? And State International Center did a very good job in launching the international ambassadors. We were actually featured in a news story at one point, and from there, we gained confidence to, take up space. So after that, I ran for board of directors elections. I won, and then eventually I saw myself advocating for students in Ottawa, and meeting business leaders and government officials at the same time. So I think it has opened many doors for me. It boosted my confidence and built connections that I thought I'd never knew. So it has really, really helped me a lot. And whatever content I did for the International Center before are the same content I've been doing now in my job. So before, I've been interviewing students, going around the campus, asking them about their student experience. And right now I've been interviewing business leaders, and pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much a training for, industry readiness.
Fantastic. And the career reference tool that's built into the app, did you use that to download? Maybe you do or you don't do that, but there's a way for you to download a summary of everything you did in the platform. So hopefully you got a chance to use that as well. Wonderful.
I think
Thank
I
you for
didn't do
that.
that.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad because some people forget that that's there. So I'll tell you about that again. For the group, how are social channels best purposed for this peer-to-peer approach? And this is from Elizabeth Thompson at the University of Guelph. If she's on, thank you. If you're on, Elizabeth. So, Linnea, I'll start with you, and we can be as quick or as robust as you want with that answer. How are social channels best purposed for this peer-to-peer approach?
Yeah, and similar to Calvin, what we do at Huron, we have a digital marketing specialist that has the logins for the ambassador platform. So whenever, they might be tasked with creating a newsletter or a very specific email or something, maybe on socials as well, they have direct access to that content. As well as, with email communications too, I think what's very cool on the ambassador platform is that if you're sending a specific email to a very specific market, say it's specifically, international students in the UAE, you can put those filters on and create those direct links. So if you're emailing students from maybe that region, you can say, reach out to other students from that region as well. And it's just been a really great way that we can connect with those students authentically and ultimately at the end of the day get them connected to the students that are having those lived experiences.
Fantastic. Rodrigo, have you got anything to add to that?
Not a whole lot, but again, try to integrate as much as possible. You're getting all this content, that is available to you, and socials is just another way to create that feedback loop within yourself. Your ambassador platform creates content for your socials, and your socials brings back traffic to the ambassador platform, right? So you're kind of creating your own funnel in that way, and people that might have not been caught in either your emails or that lead generation discovery portion, they will find you through socials, and they will still end up with in the ambassador platform.
Thank you for that. Brian.
Yeah, not too much to add beyond the fact that we don't give our marketing team access to the platform. What we have is ours is a little bit better. And I'm actually going to be presenting upon this on at CBIE in November.
I
But
heard.
we have the RSS feed from the platform that pushes the content through artificial intelligence. It then describes the content and pushes it directly to our media library so that folks can search the media library whenever they need stuff.
So you described that to me when we were first getting together on this, Brian. And so I'll recommend anybody, if you're going to be at CBIE and hopefully you are, check that out because I think that's going to be really cool. Everybody's talking AI these days. It's a cool new thing, right? So anyway, you can leverage that. We get asked that all the time. So Lance, again, your perspective, you've seen it from both sides of the fence. and you are, you obviously know socials very well. You mentioned TikTok and other channels. So how are they best used?
I think right now algorithms change from time to time, right? And by using TikTok, I think the most engagement I got is when I use hashtags. For example, international student, hashtag international student, hashtag Canada, hashtag YYC. So and then your content is all about answering frequently asked questions on being an international student. I experienced that one time, and I think I got like I think 30,000 views for that
Hmm,
content alone. And I think they're best used when they're tailored to the market that you're looking at. For example, Filipinos who are wanting to study in Canada.
fantastic. Thank you. And Calvin, how tell us what
Yeah, I
you
think
think.
for that peer-to-peer engagement, having that social channel really focus on the storytelling rather than like the promotional aspect and that can and having stories that can connect with prospective students is key.
Thank you. There's a question from the audience that I should shoot out here real quick. It makes sense, actually, in this case, for me to start with Brian and Lance because they are both sides of the coin here. So I'll flip it up a little bit here. And that question is, could you explain how onboarding works for new students on the platform? Example, when they typically gain access and how long they can continue using it. So I've seen use cases where students long after they graduate still access the platform and help out as alumni and experts. So maybe you guys could tell us that, and then I'll bounce it back to the others, just because you two are sort of a tandem here.
Yeah, sure. So we do a formal onboarding process with our ambassadors. Our first year, we did the entire group all together, really start building some community. We have I think we bring in pizza. We have a PowerPoint presentation kind of walking through, what an ambassador is, what an ambassador isn't, starting setting some of those expectations in terms of, responding to messages and posting content, things like that. And at the very end of our presentation, we have a QR code in the PowerPoint that leads directly to the training for the platform itself that then the students will do within the first few days of the training that we do, the kind of media training and the response training. And then once they do that, they have then live access to the platform and they can start answering questions. They build their profile and they can start posting some content as well.
Thank you. And then Lance, from your side of the equation, how long did it take you to get comfortable and to the point where you're feeling okay with it?
Thank you. I think the onboarding process helped a lot in getting comfortable with using the platform and with the question of how long where was I able to use it. I think the International Center at SAIT has allowed us to, take breaks. If we need some time to take breaks, they'd say that they can pause the platform for us and then resume whenever we're ready. And I think mine stopped as soon as I finished my studies. So
Okay.
yeah, the onboarding process was really important in terms of navigating through the platform.
Thank you. Gabriella has a good question that I'm going to kind of circumvent things here a little bit because it's a tough question, but it's one that I think maybe we best answer as a show of hands before we call it a day. Any friction from agents worried that the platform is circumventing them? So just a quick yes or no from each of you, starting with Lene. Has been a problem at all, or?
No, I've never had that come up. So that's quite an
Okay,
interesting question, and I'm interested to
that's
hear
it's
if
a great
others have
question.
experienced that.
Yeah, Rodrigo.
Also, no, I don't think, the agents have felt like, threatened in that way. If anything, it's helping them validate, with their potential students, like, yeah, this was the right decision, right? Like, let's go, let's get that letter of offer signed.
Wonderful. Brian.
No friction whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, when we're speaking with our agents, we're encouraging them to help us identify prospective ambassadors. And
Oh,
if one of our ambassadors did come through an agent, we'll often do a video endorsement with that ambassador and that agent as well. So quite the opposite.
thank you. And Calvin.
Oh, so at the University of Calgary, we don't work with agents, so there's not an issue there.
So that's the easiest answer of all. Thank you. Okay, well, listen, had other questions, couldn't get to them because I want to keep to that schedule we promised. And I also want to reiterate, we are going to make this available as a link so people can download and watch this at their leisure. Thank you so much for everybody that joined us today. thank you so much, especially Lance, because if this is about authenticity, we couldn't get more authentic than you. So much appreciated. I was so happy to assemble this team of superheroes, and that they came and answered the call so quickly and so enthusiastically has been, a testament to what great partners we have, and we hope we're great partners back to them as well. So signing off here from IDP, thank you again to Linnea, to Rodrigo, to Brian, to Lance, and to Calvin. So great to have you here, and I hope we could do this again sometime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
So much.
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.